The airlock hissed open and Lieutenant Derek Hutchins stumbled through, blood trailing from his torn pressure suit. Behind him, the Valkyrie warship's weapons charged for another volley. "Seal it!" he shouted. Corporal Amy Bradford slammed her fist on the emergency panel. The heavy door groaned shut just as plasma fire scorched the outer hull. The ship lurched violently. Derek crashed against the bulkhead, gasping as his suit's breach sealant hardened around the gash in his side. "You're hit," Amy said, rushing to him. "I'm fine. Where's Captain Morris?" "Dead. Everyone on the bridge is dead." Her voice didn't waver, but her hand shook as she helped him remove his helmet. "The Valkyrie boarding party killed them 2 minutes ago. We're the last ones left on this section." Derek's jaw tightened. The USS Sentinel had been humanity's fastest destroyer, sent to investigate the disappearance of 3 colony worlds. Now it was a floating graveyard, crippled and dying in the void. "How many hostiles aboard?" 15, maybe 20. They're sweeping deck by deck. Amy checked her rifle's charge. "They don't know about the cargo bay yet." Derek's eyes widened. "The prototype, still intact. But Derek, we can't let them take it. If the Valkyrie reverse engineer human jump drive technology, they'll wipe out every colony before Earth even knows we're at war." He pushed himself upright, ignoring the pain screaming through his ribs. "We destroy it. The self-destruct is offline. Main power's gone. Then we do it manually." Derek limped toward the weapons locker, pulled out 2 plasma charges, set these in the drive core. 5-minute delay. We get to the escape pods and blow this whole section into dust. Amy grabbed his arm, her green eyes locked onto his. For 3 years they'd served together. 3 years of combat drills, deep space patrols, and stolen moments in the observation deck when the stars felt close enough to touch. 3 years of him wanting to tell her the truth. "Derek, there's only 1 pod left in this section. The others were destroyed in the attack." His blood went cold. "How many can it hold?" 1. The ship shuddered again. Somewhere down the corridor, boots hammered against metal. The Valkyrie were coming. Derek looked at Amy, at the woman who'd pulled him out of a crashed fighter on Titan, who'd stayed awake for 36 hours to help him pass his command certification, who'd laughed at his terrible jokes even when the universe felt impossibly dark. "Then you're taking it," he said. "No!" Amy's voice cut through the groaning hull like a blade. "Absolutely not. That's an order, Corporal. You're not my commanding officer anymore. Morris is dead. Chain of command is broken." She shoved past him toward the cargo bay access corridor. "We set the charges together, then we figure something else out." Derek grabbed her shoulder and spun her around. The Valkyrie voices grew louder, guttural and sharp, echoing through the ventilation shafts. They had maybe 90 seconds. "There is nothing else," he said. "You know that. I know that. One of us lives, one of us doesn't. That's the math. Then let's flip for it. Amy, I'm serious." She pulled a credit chip from her pocket, the one she always carried for luck. "Heads or tails? Winner takes the pod." Derek stared at her. Even now, with alien soldiers hunting them through a dying ship, with humanity's most critical technology about to fall into enemy hands, she was trying to make it fair, trying to give him a chance. That's when he knew he couldn't wait anymore. "I love you," he said. Amy froze. The credit chip slipped from her fingers, bouncing once before floating in the reduced gravity. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "I've loved you since the day you punched Lieutenant Garrett for calling Earth a backwater rock. I've loved you through every mission, every close call, every moment I thought might be our last." Derek's words came faster now. 3 years of silence breaking like a dam. "I've wanted to tell you 1,000 times, but there was always a reason not to. Always another mission. Always tomorrow." The ship's emergency lighting flickered. "Somewhere close," Metal shrieked as the Valkyrie cut through a sealed door. "There's no tomorrow left," Derek continued. "So I'm telling you now. You're the reason I signed up for another tour. You're the reason I requested transfer to the Sentinel. You're the reason I..." Amy stepped forward and kissed him. It lasted 3 seconds, maybe 4. Her lips were warm against his, and her hand found the back of his neck. And for that impossible moment, the universe contracted to just the two of them. Then she pulled away. "I know," she whispered. Derek's heart stopped. You know, I've known for 2 years. A smile touched her face, sad and beautiful and breaking. You're terrible at hiding it. The way you look at me during briefings, the way you always take the dangerous assignments so I won't have to, the way you memorized how I take my coffee. Black with 2 sugars and a drop of vanilla extract, which I have to special order because the ship's synthesizer doesn't stock it. Her smile widened even as her eyes grew wet. You requisitioned a 6-month supply last January. Logged it as medical supplies so it wouldn't get flagged. Derek couldn't breathe. Then why didn't you say anything? Because you were my superior officer. Because regulations exist for a reason. Because I thought we had time. She touched his face, her thumb brushing his cheek. I thought after this tour, after we mustered out, maybe then we could... The corridor exploded. A Valkyrie breaching charge blew the far bulkhead into shrapnel. Derek threw Amy behind a support beam as plasma fire filled the air. He returned fire blind, his rifle screaming on full auto. Go, he roared. Now, Amy ran. Derek covered her, emptying his charge pack into the smoke and chaos. A Valkyrie soldier emerged from the breach. 7 feet of chitinous armor and razor-tipped claws. Derek dropped the rifle and drew his sidearm, putting 3 rounds through its faceplate. 2 more appeared behind it. He sprinted after Amy, legs pumping, lungs burning. They crashed through the cargo bay doors together. Amy slammed the manual lock while Derek grabbed the plasma charges from the equipment rack. The prototype jump drive sat in the center of the bay, a marvel of human engineering wrapped in magnetic containment fields. It was beautiful. It was humanity's future. It had to die. 30 seconds to arm both charges, Derek said, fingers flying over the detonation sequence. Then you run for the pod. Don't look back. Don't stop. Just go. Amy set the second charge on the opposite side of the drive core. Her hands were steady now. What about you? I'll hold him off. Give you time to clear the blast radius? Derek, please. He looked up at her. Let me do this one thing right. Let me save you. The cargo bay doors shuddered. The Valkyrie were cutting through. Amy's eyes held his for one long moment. Then she smiled. Even as tears streamed down her face, she turned and ran toward the escape pod. Derek watched her go, knowing he'd never see her again, knowing it was worth it. The charges armed with a soft beep. He picked up his rifle and faced the door. The cargo bay doors peeled open like burning paper. 3 Valkyrie warriors poured through, their armor gleaming black under the emergency lights. Derek opened fire. The first one went down hard, its shield flickering out as armor-piercing rounds tore through its chest plate. The second dodged left, impossibly fast, returning fire with a plasma lance that melted the deck plating inches from Derek's boots. He rolled behind a cargo container, breathing hard. 20 seconds until detonation. Great. Human! The third Valkyrie's voice rattled through a translator mounted on its throat. Surrender the technology! Your death serves no purpose. Derek laughed, wild and bitter. You have no idea what purpose is. He popped up and fired a 3-round burst. The Valkyrie's shoulder joint exploded in sparks and hydraulic fluid. It staggered but didn't fall. These things were built like tanks. Behind him, Derek heard the escape pod's engines warm up. Amy was inside. She was safe. She was getting out. That's all that mattered. 2 more Valkyrie entered the bay. Then 3 more. They were pouring in now, realizing too late what was about to happen. One of them spotted the plasma charges and shrieked something in its native language. 10 seconds. Derek fired until his rifle clicked empty. He dropped it and drew his sidearm, putting rounds downrange with mechanical precision. A Valkyrie claw caught his left arm and tore it open from elbow to wrist. He screamed but kept firing. 5 seconds. The escape pod launched. Derek saw it. Through the bay's observation window, a tiny silver dot accelerating away from the Sentinel's dying bulk. Away from the battle. Away from him. He smiled. 3 seconds. A Valkyrie warrior grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the deck. Its mandibles clicked inches from his face. Foolish mammal. Your sacrifice changes nothing. We will hunt her. We will take the data from her corpse. You really don't know humans at all, Derek choked out. The Valkyrie tilted its head, confused. We don't quit. 1 second. The plasma charges detonated. The explosion vaporized the cargo bay instantly. A miniature sun blooming in the vacuum. The jump drive's containment fields collapsed, and its exotic matter core went critical, adding its energy to the blast. The entire aft section of the USS Sentinel tore itself apart in a chain reaction of fire and fury. Derek Hutchins never felt it. He was already gone. The shockwave caught the escape pod and sent it tumbling through space. Inside, Amy gripped the controls with white knuckles, watching through the rear viewport as the ship that had been her home erupted into debris and light. No, she whispered. No, no, no. The pod's autopilot kicked in, stabilizing her spin and calculating a jump trajectory to the nearest human outpost. 12 hours, at maximum burn. 12 hours alone, with nothing but the void in her thoughts. Amy pulled up the pod's communications array. Dead. The Valkyrie had jammed all frequencies before their attack. She couldn't even send a distress signal. She was alone. Derek was dead. The war had started, and Earth didn't even know yet. Amy slammed her fist against the console, once, twice, 3 times, until her knuckles bled. Then she stopped, took a breath, forced herself to think. The pod's black box had recorded everything. The Valkyrie attack patterns, their weapon signatures, their ship configurations. Most importantly, it had recorded the fact that they wanted human jump drive technology badly enough to commit a full military strike for it. That meant they didn't have it yet. That meant humanity still had an advantage. Amy strapped herself into the pilot's seat and overrode the autopilot. She punched in new coordinates, pushing the pod's engines past their safety limits, not to the nearest outpost, to Fleet Command at Proxima Station. 12 hours became 8. She would make them count. Her fingers flew across the tactical console, pulling up every scrap of data the Sentinel had gathered before its destruction. Valkyrie fleet movements, attack vectors, probable staging areas. She compiled it all into a single compressed file and set it to auto-transmit the moment she entered communications range. Then she opened a second file, personal logs, crew records. Derek's face appeared on the screen, frozen in a moment from 6 months ago. They'd been in the officer's mess. Someone had told a joke. He was laughing, eyes crinkled at the corners, completely unguarded. Amy's hand trembled as she reached toward the image. I loved you too, she said to the empty pod. I should have said it. I should have told you when it mattered. The tears came then, hot and furious. She let them fall for exactly 60 seconds. Then she wiped her eyes, closed the file, and got back to work. Grief was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not yet. The pod's sensors pinged. Amy's blood froze. A contact, moving fast, closing from her 6 o'clock position. Valkyrie pursuit ship. Of course they'd send someone after her. Of course they wouldn't let the only witness escape. Amy checked her weapons. The escape pod had a single defensive laser designed for clearing debris. Against a military-grade hunter-killer, it was useless. She had no shields, no armor, no jump drive. She had 8 hours until Proxima Station and a Valkyrie warship on her tail. The tactical display showed the enemy ship matching her velocity, pulling alongside rather than destroying her outright. They wanted her alive, wanted to interrogate her, wanted to know what humanity knew about their invasion plans. Amy's jaw set hard. Not happening, she muttered. She killed the engines and went dark, letting momentum carry her forward while every system powered down to minimal. The pod went silent and cold. On passive sensors, she'd look like just another piece of debris from the Sentinel's destruction. The Valkyrie ship slowed, searching. Its scanners swept past her. Once, twice, the enemy vessel drifted closer, its weapons ports open, ready to disable her the moment she showed active power signatures. 50 meters, 40, 30. Amy's hand hovered over the engine restart, waiting for the perfect moment. 20 meters. The Valkyrie ship rotated, bringing its main sensor array to bear directly on her position. Now, Amy slammed the engine controls forward. The pod's thrusters screamed to life, all of them firing at once in a coordinated burn that sent her hurtling perpendicular to her previous trajectory. The sudden acceleration crushed her into the seat with 5 times normal gravity. The Valkyrie ship fired where she'd been. Plasma streaked through empty space. Amy didn't give them a second chance. She cut the engines again and fired the starboard maneuvering jets, spinning the pod end over end. The defensive laser came online and she fired it manually, not at the warship's hull, but at the debris field still spreading from the Sentinel's destruction. A chunk of bulkhead plating the size of a truck exploded into thousands of smaller fragments. The cloud of shrapnel expanded directly into the Valkyrie ship's path. The warship's shields flared bright purple as the debris hammered into them. Not enough to cause damage, but enough to blind their sensors for 3 precious seconds. Amy burned hard in a new direction, angling toward a dense cluster of wreckage. She threaded the pod through twisted metal and shattered hull plates, using the Sentinel's corpse as cover. The Valkyrie followed. Their ship was faster, more maneuverable, built for exactly this kind of pursuit. But Amy had something they didn't. She was angry. The pod shook as plasma fire clipped its rear stabilizer. Alarms shrieked. Amy ignored them and dove deeper into the debris field, skimming so close to a broken fuel tank that she could see the manufacturer's logo stenciled on its side. The Valkyrie ship fired again. The blast hit the fuel tank. It detonated in a brilliant orange fireball that sent pressure waves rippling through the wreckage. Amy's pod tumbled wildly, spinning through the chaos as her inertial dampeners struggled to compensate. When the stars stopped wheeling, she'd put 2 kilometers between herself and the enemy. Not enough. The Valkyrie warship emerged from the explosion, shields flickering but intact. It accelerated toward her with terrifying speed. Amy checked her fuel reserves. 40%. The engine restart and evasive maneuvers had burned through her margin for error. At this rate, she'd run dry before reaching Proxima Station. The math was simple and brutal. She couldn't outrun them. She couldn't outfight them. But maybe she could outsmart them. Amy pulled up the Sentinel's final sensor logs, the ones recorded in the moments before the bridge went dark. Stellar cartography data. Gravitational readings. She found what she was looking for and felt her stomach drop. 300,000 kilometers ahead, a rogue asteroid drifted through the combat zone. Nothing special about it, except for one detail. Its core was saturated with ferromagnetic ore, enough to generate a significant magnetic field, enough to disrupt Valkyrie's shield harmonics. It was a 1 in a million shot. If her timing was off by even a second, she'd splatter herself across that asteroid's surface at a significant fraction of light speed. Amy smiled grimly and plotted the course. "Derek," she whispered. "This one's for you." She burned every drop of fuel in one sustained blast, the pod's engine redlining as it pushed her faster and faster toward the asteroid. The Valkyrie ship matched her acceleration easily, closing the gap. 200,000 kilometers. The enemy vessel's weapons charged. Amy could see the energy build up on her sensors, a killing shot preparing to end this chase. 100,000 kilometers. Amy's fingers danced across the navigational controls, making micro-adjustments to her trajectory. The asteroid grew larger in the viewport, a dark sphere blotting out the stars. 50,000 kilometers. The Valkyrie fired. Amy cut all power and fired the emergency retro rockets, every single one, simultaneously. The deceleration was so violent that her restraints cut into her shoulders and her vision went gray at the edges. The plasma bolt screamed past her, missing by less than 10 meters. It hit the asteroid dead center. The impact triggered a cascade reaction in the ferromagnetic ore. The asteroid's magnetic field spiked wildly, fluctuating through frequencies that made Valkyrie's shield technology go haywire. The warship, still accelerating at full speed, flew directly into the disruption zone. Its shields collapsed. Without protection, the ship's hull couldn't handle the gravitational shear from passing so close to the asteroid's mass at such high velocity. Metal screamed. Structural supports buckled. The warship tore itself in half, spilling atmosphere and bodies into the void. Amy watched it die, feeling nothing. Her pod drifted now, engines dead, fuel exhausted. But she'd done it. She'd survived. The emergency battery kicked in, giving her life support and minimal communications. Amy checked her position. 4 hours from Proxima Station at her current drift rate. 4 hours was too long. She pulled up the communication array and began broadcasting on all human frequencies, tight beam and wide spectrum both. Someone would hear her. Someone had to. This is Corporal Amy Bradford, sole survivor of the USS Sentinel. The Valkyrie Concorded has initiated hostilities against human space. They destroyed 3 colony worlds and our ship. They're coming in force. I repeat, they're coming in force. She transmitted the tactical data, everything the Sentinel had died to gather. Then she transmitted Derek's personnel file, his service record, his final actions. The galaxy needed to know what one human had given to buy them time. 30 minutes passed, an hour. Finally, a response crackled through the speakers. Corporal Bradford, this is the UNS Valiant. We have your position and your data. Hold tight. We're coming to get you. Amy closed her eyes and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Acknowledged. Valiant, I'll be here. She would survive this. She would make it home. Would make sure everyone knew what Derek Hutchins had done. And then she would make the Valkyrie pay for every human life they'd taken. The pod drifted through the darkness, a tiny light in an infinite sea, carrying the sole witness to the war's beginning. Amy Bradford sat in the silence and waited for rescue, already planning the vengeance to come. The UNS Valiant pulled Amy's pod into its hangar bay 73 minutes later. She stumbled out on shaking legs, still wearing her torn uniform, still covered in Derek's blood. A medical team rushed forward. Amy waved them off. I'm fine. Get me to your captain, now. The chief medical officer, a stern woman with silver hair, blocked her path. Corporal, you've been through severe trauma. I need to debrief before the Valkyrie hit another target. Amy's voice cut like steel. People are dying while we stand here, so either take me to your captain, or get out of my way. The doctor stepped aside. Captain Lauren Briggs met Amy in the Tactical Operations Center. A compact room lined with holographic displays showing fleet positions across 3 sectors. She was younger than Amy expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Corporal Bradford. Briggs extended her hand. Your data upload has already been forwarded to Fleet Command. They're mobilizing the 3rd and 7th battle groups as we speak. Amy shook her hand, noticing the firm grip. That won't be enough, ma'am. The Valkyrie sent 1 warship after the Sentinel, and it nearly killed us all. If they're committing to full invasion, they are. Briggs pulled up a star chart. Red markers bloomed across it like a disease. While you were drifting, we received reports from 4 more colony systems: New Portland, Covenant Station, Terra Verde, and the mining outpost at Kepler, 442. All went dark within the last 6 hours. No distress calls. No survivors. Amy's blood went cold. That's 7 colonies in 1 day. 8. Arcadia fell 20 minutes ago. Briggs's jaw tightened. Whatever the Valkyrie are planning, it's already in motion. They're not probing our defenses. They're executing a coordinated strike across the entire frontier. Then why haven't they hit Earth? Because they can't. Not yet. A new voice entered the conversation. Amy turned to see a man in civilian clothes approaching. His ID badge marked him as Dr. Ethan Cross, Xenotechnology Specialist. The Valkyrie don't have jump drive capability. They use wormhole gates, massive structures that take years to construct. They can project force through existing gates, but they can't create new ones fast enough to reach the core worlds. Amy understood immediately. They're seizing our colonies to build a network. Get close enough to Earth that they can gate in their full fleet. Exactly. Cross pulled up schematics of Valkyrie gate technology. Each colony they take gives them another staging point, another step closer to humanity's heart. At their current rate of expansion, they'll have a clear path to Earth in 3 weeks. So we stop them. Amy turned to Briggs. We hit their gates, destroy their infrastructure, cut off their advance. It's not that simple. Briggs highlighted a cluster of red markers near the frontier. Each gate is protected by a battle group. Minimum 3 capital ships, 24 frigates, orbital defense platforms. We don't have the firepower to take them head-on, not without leaving the core worlds defenseless. Amy stared at the map, her tactical training kicking into gear. 7 colonies lost, thousands dead. Derek dead. All because humanity had been caught sleeping while an enemy they barely understood sharpened its knives. "What about the prototype?" she asked quietly. Briggs and Cross exchanged glances. "The jump drive you destroyed?" Cross said carefully. There were 3 prototypes. The Sentinel carried the hardware testbed, but the design files, the engineering specifications, those are backed up at Research Station Omega, aren't they? Cross nodded slowly. The station is heavily classified. How did you know about it? Because Lieutenant Hutchins told me. Amy's voice didn't waver. Before he died buying me time to escape, he told me that if anything happened to the prototype, Omega could rebuild it. He made me memorize the access codes. That was a lie. Derek had never mentioned any codes, but Amy had spent 3 years watching him work, learning how he thought, understanding the systems he'd helped design. She knew those codes existed because Derek would have made sure they existed, and she knew where to find them. Briggs leaned forward. "Corporal, if you're saying what I think you're saying, I'm saying we don't need to fight the Valkyrie head-on. We need to do what humans do best." Amy met the captain's eyes. "We need to move faster than they can react. Hit them where they're weak. Disappear before they can respond, and keep them off balance until we've built enough jump-capable ships to end this war on our terms. Guerrilla warfare in space," Briggs said. "Strike and fade tactics using jump technology they can't counter. It's the only advantage we have." Cross shook his head. "Even if we had the designs, building a fleet of jump-capable warships would take months. We don't have months. We don't need a fleet." Amy pulled up the tactical display and highlighted the Valiant's specifications. "We need 1 ship, fast, heavily armed, and equipped with an experimental drive that lets it appear anywhere in human space without warning. We hit Valkyrie's supply lines. We destroy their forward bases. We make them bleed for every colony they've taken. 1 ship against an invasion force." Cross looked incredulous. 1 ship crewed by people who have nothing left to lose and everything to fight for." Amy's voice dropped. "People like me?" Briggs studied her for a long moment. "You understand what you're proposing. Deep penetration raids behind enemy lines. No support. No backup. If you get caught, we can't extract you." "I understand perfectly, ma'am. You'd be volunteering for a suicide mission." Amy thought of Derek, standing in that cargo bay with plasma charges armed and enemies closing in. She thought of his smile as he told her to run. She thought of the words she'd never said until it was too late. "With respect, Captain, I'm already dead." Amy straightened, her voice steady. "I died on the Sentinel with the rest of my crew. What you're looking at is just a ghost with unfinished business." Briggs was quiet for 10 seconds. Then she turned to Cross. "How fast can you get to Research Station Omega and retrieve those designs? If we leave immediately? 18 hours. Make it 12. Corporal Bradford, you're with him. Get those files, get back here, and we'll see about turning the Valiant into humanity's first jump-capable warship." Briggs extended her hand again. "Welcome to the war, Corporal." "Let's make the Valkyrie regret ever hearing the name human." Amy shook it, feeling something cold and fierce settle into her chest where her heart used to be. Derek had given her life. She would spend it making his sacrifice matter. Research Station Omega hung in the shadow of a gas giant, invisible to long-range scans and protected by sensor-baffling fields that made it look like empty space. Amy and Dr. Cross approached in a stealth shuttle, running dark and silent. 20 minutes to docking, Cross said, monitoring the approach vector. No signs of Valkyrie activity in the sector. Amy didn't relax. The Valkyrie had appeared out of nowhere before. They could do it again. The shuttle slid into Omega's concealed hangar without incident. Inside, the station was eerily quiet. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows. Amy's hand moved to her sidearm. "Something's wrong," she said. Cross checked his datapad. "Station manifest shows 47 personnel. I'm not reading any life signs." They moved through the corridors, weapons drawn. The first body appeared 30 meters from the hangar. a technician, slumped against the wall with her throat torn open. The wound wasn't from plasma fire or conventional weapons. It was from claws. "They were here," Amy whispered. "The Velkari found Omega." Cross knelt beside another body, examining it with clinical detachment. "These wounds are at least 8 hours old. If the Velkari attacked, they're long gone. Or they're waiting." They pushed deeper into the station, finding more bodies at every turn. The research staff had fought back. Scorch marks on the walls told stories of desperate last stands. It hadn't been enough. The central laboratory was a massacre. 24 scientists lay dead among shattered equipment and burning terminals. Someone had tried to destroy the research data before the Velkari could take it. Amy's heart sank. "Tell me there's a backup." Cross was already at a terminal, fingers flying across the interface. "Isolated server. Air-gapped from the main network. If the self-destruct protocol worked correctly, the files should still be..." He stopped. "Got 'em. Jump drive specifications, complete engineering schematics, manufacturing protocols, everything we need. Download it. Fast." While Cross worked, Amy moved to the laboratory's observation window. The gas giant filled the view, its storms churning in endless patterns. Beautiful and indifferent to the death that had happened here. Movement caught her eye, a reflection in the glass. Amy spun and fired. Her round caught the Velkari warrior in the chestplate, staggering it. The creature had been hiding in the ceiling, waiting in perfect stillness. Cross-run. 2 more Velkari dropped from concealment. Amy emptied her magazine into the closest one, driving it back. Cross grabbed the data core and bolted for the door. The 3rd warrior moved to intercept him. Amy threw herself forward, tackling it from the side. They crashed through a bank of computers in a tangle of limbs and fury. The Velkari was stronger. It pinned her to the floor, mandibles clicking inches from her face. Amy headbutted it, felt cartilage crunch. The creature reeled back and she rolled free, grabbing a metal strut from the wreckage. She swung it like a club, catching the Velkari across its knee joint. The leg buckled. Amy swung again, and again, and again, not stopping until the warrior stopped moving. The other 2 were recovering. Amy ran. Cross had made it to the corridor. They sprinted together toward the hangar, the Velkari in pursuit. One of them fired a plasma lance that melted a hole in the wall beside Amy's head. "We're not going to make it," Cross gasped. Amy saw an emergency bulkhead control. She slammed her fist on it as they passed through. The heavy door dropped like a guillotine, sealing them on one side and the Velkari on the other. It wouldn't hold long. They reached the shuttle and launched without pre-flight checks. Amy took the pilot seat and pushed the engines to maximum burn. Behind them, the Velkari broke through the bulkhead and reached the hangar just as the shuttle cleared the station's defensive perimeter. "They're not following," Cross said, watching the sensors. "They don't need to. They got what they came for." Amy checked the data core. Cross clutched. "Did you verify the files?" "Every single one, complete and intact. Then we have what humanity needs to fight back." Amy set course for the Valiant. "Captain Briggs can start converting her ship while we..." The sensor board lit up like a nightmare. 30 contacts. Velkari warships, dropping out of warp at the edge of the system. "How?" Cross stared at the display. How did they know to be here? Amy's blood turned to ice as understanding crashed over her. "Because they wanted us to come." They left the files intact. They left one shuttle operational. They let us take the data. Why would they do that? Because they tagged it. Amy brought up the data core's metadata. There, buried in the code, a microscopic subroutine she wouldn't have noticed if she hadn't been looking. A tracking beacon broadcasting their position to every Velkari ship in range. They're not after the station. They're after the Valiant. We're leading them straight to the only ship that can hurt them. Cross went pale. If they destroy the Valiant before we can install the jump drive, humanity loses its only chance. Amy pulled up the communications array. "Valiant, this is Bradford. Do not acknowledge this transmission. Velkari fleet inbound to your position. 30+ contacts. We've been compromised. Recommend you jump to Rally Point Delta and..." Static erupted from the speakers, then a voice, cold and synthetic through its translator. Human vessel, you will surrender the data core and your ship. Compliance will result in swift termination. Resistance will result in extended suffering. Amy killed the comm and checked the tactical display. The Valkyrie ships were moving to surround them, cutting off every escape vector. The shuttle had no weapons, minimal shields, and engines designed for stealth, not speed. She couldn't outrun them. She couldn't outfight them. Cross, can you wipe the tracking code from the data core? Not while it's active. I'd need at least 10 minutes in a secure environment. You've got 5 minutes in a flying death trap. Get to work. Amy dove the shuttle toward the gas giant, using its gravity well to slingshot around the planet's dark side. The Valkyrie followed, but the maneuver bought them distance. Cross tore into the data core's programming, sweat beading on his forehead. If I make one mistake, the whole thing could corrupt. We'd lose everything. If you don't make the attempt, we lose everything anyway. Choose your poison. The shuttle shook as plasma fire clipped its shields. Amy jinked left, then right, weaving through the upper atmosphere of the gas giant. Turbulence battered them from all sides. 3 minutes, Cross said. A Valkyrie frigate appeared directly ahead, weapons hot. Amy fired the shuttle's emergency flares and dove straight down into the storm clouds. Lightning arced around them. The hull temperature spiked into the red. 2 minutes. The frigate followed them into the atmosphere. Its shields flared brighter as the crushing pressure squeezed it. Amy watched the enemy ship struggle, waiting for the perfect moment. 1 minute! The frigate's shields collapsed. The pressure tore it apart in seconds, scattering debris across 100 kilometers of storm. Done! Cross yanked the data core free. Tracking code purged. We're clean. Amy pulled up out of the atmosphere, engines screaming. The Valiant was still out there, still waiting, still humanity's only hope. She just had to reach it before the Valkyrie fleet reached them first. The shuttle broke atmosphere, trailing superheated plasma. Amy's hands flew across the controls, plotting a course that used the gas giant's moons as cover. 29 Valkyrie warships remained, spreading out in a search pattern that would find them in minutes. Valiant is 300,000 kilometers out, Cross said. At our current speed, 12 minutes. We'll be dead in 5. Amy checked their weapons. Nothing. Shields at 30% and dropping. The atmospheric dive had cooked half their systems. We need a distraction. Cross pulled up the shuttle's cargo manifest. We've got emergency supplies, survival gear, and... He stopped. Wait, the station's fuel depot. It's still intact. Amy understood immediately. How much deuterium? Enough to power Omega for 6 months. Maybe 4,000 tons. Can you detonate it remotely? The safety protocols? Can you do it? Cross fingers danced across his datapad, hacking into the station's fuel management system. Give me 30. Amy angled the shuttle back toward Omega, making it look like they were trying to dock. The Valkyrie fleet adjusted course to intercept. 15 ships. 10. 5. Now, Amy shouted. Cross triggered the override. Research Station Omega's fuel depot exploded with the force of a small nuclear weapon. The blast vaporized the station instantly and sent a shock wave racing outward at a significant fraction of light speed. The 5 closest Valkyrie ships caught the full force of it, their shields overloaded and their hulls crumpled like paper. Amy was already burning away at maximum thrust, using the explosion's light and radiation to mask their escape vector. Behind them, the Valkyrie fleet scattered in confusion. 8 minutes to the Valiant, Cross said. The comm crackled to life. Captain Briggs' voice cut through the static. Bradford, we saw the explosion. Please tell me you're still alive. Alive and inbound with the package. But we've got 24 Valkyrie warships on our tail, and they're not giving up. Understood. We're moving to intercept. Hold tight. The Valiant appeared on Amy's sensors, burning hard toward their position. The destroyer was fast, heavily armed, and about to go up against a fleet 4 times its size. Captain, you need to jump out, Amy transmitted. Get those files to Fleet Command. Don't throw away humanity's last chance trying to save us. Negative, Corporal. We don't leave people behind. That's not how humans operate. Amy felt something crack in her chest. Derek had said almost the same thing, once. Before the Sentinel. before everything went wrong. The Valiant opened fire at maximum range, its railguns hurling tungsten slugs at relativistic speeds. 2 Valkyrie frigates took direct hits and exploded. The rest returned fire, plasma lances converging on the destroyer's position. Captain Briggs was good. She danced the Valiant through the enemy fire, shields absorbing what she couldn't dodge. But the math was brutal and simple. 1 ship against 22. The Valiant would die, unless someone changed the equation. Amy looked at the data core in Cross's hands. Everything humanity needed to turn the tide. Schematics, specifications, manufacturing protocols. Then she looked at the shuttle's navigation computer, at the course she'd plotted. At the intercept point where they'd meet the Valiant, she made her decision. Cross, upload those files to the Valiant. Tight beam transmission, maximum encryption. We're still 4 minutes out. The data packet is huge. It'll take... Do it now. Cross initiated the upload. Progress bar crawled across the screen. 3%, 7%, 12%. The Valkyrie noticed the transmission. 6 ships broke off from attacking the Valiant and burned toward the shuttle at full acceleration. Amy, what are you doing? Cross asked quietly, making sure the mission succeeds. She pulled up the shuttle's autopilot and began programming a new course. When the upload hits 100%, you're taking the escape pod. The shuttle will continue on autopilot to rendezvous with the Valiant. What about you? I'm staying with the shuttle. Someone needs to make the Valkyrie think the data core is still aboard. Someone needs to draw them away from the Valiant long enough for Briggs to escape. 40% uploaded. That's suicide, Cross said. No, that's buying time. Amy's voice was steady. Derek did it for me. Now I do it for everyone else. That's how this works. 50%. The 6 Valkyrie ships closed to weapons range. Amy threw the shuttle into evasive maneuvers, burning fuel she didn't have. Plasma fire filled the void around them. 65%. A blast clipped their starboard engine. The shuttle tumbled. Amy fought the controls, stabilizing just as another volley screamed past. 80%. Cross. Get ready. The moment this hits 100, you launch. No arguments. No hesitation. You get to the Valiant and you make sure they finish what Derek started. I don't even know how to fly this thing. The escape pod is automated. Just strap in and trust the computer. Amy's hands never left the controls, still weaving through enemy fire. Tell Captain Briggs what I did. Tell her it mattered. 95%. Cross grabbed the data core and moved toward the escape pod hatch. He stopped at the threshold. For what it's worth, Lieutenant Hutchins was right about you. Amy glanced back. What do you mean? I accessed the Sentinel's logs while downloading the jump drive files. Read his personal journal entries. Cross smiled sadly. He wrote about you every day for 3 years. Said you were the bravest person he'd ever met. Said if humanity had any chance in this war, it was because of people like you, 100%. Go, Amy whispered. Cross went. The escape pod launched, its tiny thruster carrying it away from the shuttle and toward the Valiant. The Valkyrie ships ignored it, staying focused on the shuttle they believed still carried the data core. Amy transmitted on all frequencies. Attention Valkyrie fleet. I have the jump drive specifications. You want them? Come and get them. She turned the shuttle away from the Valiant and burned toward deep space, leading the enemy away. 16 ships followed, leaving only 6 to engage Captain Briggs. Better odds. Not good ones, but better. The Valiant's engines flared as Briggs prepared to jump to safety. Amy watched on her sensors, smiling. Then the destroyer turned around. Valiant, what are you doing? Amy shouted into the comm. Get out of here. Briggs's voice came back calm and certain. Bradford, I told you, we don't leave people behind. My weapons officer just calculated firing solutions on all 16 ships currently chasing you. We're going to kill every single one of them. Then we're going to pick you up. Then we're going to go home and build the weapon that ends this war. Oh. Clear? Amy couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up. I said, is that clear, Corporal? Yes, ma'am, Amy managed. The Valiant dove into the Valkyrie formation like a shark into a school of fish. Its railguns spoke thunder. Its missile pods opened and filled space with smart munitions. Captain Briggs fought like someone who'd learned tactics from hell itself. 3 Valkyrie ships died in the first 30 seconds. 4 more in the next minute. The rest scattered, trying to regroup. The Valiant didn't give them the chance. It pursued each one individually, destroying them with mechanical efficiency. Amy watched it happen, watched one human destroyer dismantle a Valkyrie strike force through superior tactics and sheer bloody-minded determination. This was what Derek had died for. This was what humanity could become. The last Valkyrie ship exploded in a flash of superheated metal. Silence fell across the battlefield. All enemy contacts destroyed, Briggs transmitted. Bradford, bring that shuttle home. We've got work to do. Amy set course for the Valiant, her hands shaking with adrenaline, and something else. Something that felt almost like hope. 3 weeks later, Amy stood in the Valiant's engine room and watched history being made. The jump drive hummed to life for the first time. Exotic matter spinning in magnetic containment fields that glowed blue-white. Dr. Cross-monitored the power levels while a team of engineers made final adjustments to systems that hadn't existed a month ago. Containment stable, Cross announced. Energy output nominal. We're ready for the first test jump. Captain Briggs stood beside Amy, arms crossed. 1 jump. Short range. If it works, we move to Phase 2. If it doesn't, we're dead in space with a bomb in our engine room. It'll work, Amy said. She had to believe that. Had to believe Derek's sacrifice meant something. Had to believe the 3 weeks of round-the-clock modifications, the exhausted engineers, the depleted resource reserves, all of it would pay off. Briggs activated the ship-wide comm. All hands, this is the captain. Secure for jump operations. This is not a drill. Amy strapped into an observation seat. Through the reinforced window, she could see stars. Normal space. The universe as humanity had always known it. That was about to change. Initiating jump sequence, Cross said. 2, 1, jump. Reality twisted. For a fraction of a second, Amy existed in 2 places at once. She felt her atoms scatter across impossible distances, felt the universe bend around her like water around a stone. Then it snapped back. The stars were different. Jump successful, Cross reported, his voice shaking with excitement. We traveled 15 light-years in 0.3 seconds. The math actually works. We did it. The bridge erupted in cheers. Engineers hugged each other. Even Briggs allowed herself a tight smile. Amy felt nothing. They'd proven the technology worked. Proven humanity could move faster than the Valkyrie could track. Proven Derek's death had meaning. But he was still gone. Corporal Bradford, report to the bridge, Briggs ordered over the comm. Amy made her way through corridors that still smelled of welding torch and fresh paint. The Valiant had been transformed from a standard destroyer into something new. Something dangerous. On the bridge, tactical displays showed updated intelligence from Fleet Command. The Valkyrie had seized 4 more colonies in the past week. Their gate network now extended within 8 jumps of Earth itself. The Admiralty has approved our operational plan, Briggs said when Amy arrived. We're officially designated Special Operations Group Phantom. Our mission, deep strike raids on Valkyrie infrastructure, supply depots, gate construction sites, command nodes, anything that slows their advance. When do we start? Amy asked. 18 hours. We've identified a target. Briggs pulled up a star chart. New Sarajevo colony. The Valkyrie took it 11 days ago and they're building a gate in orbit. Intelligence suggests the structure is 60% complete. If we hit it now, we set their timetable back by weeks. Amy studied the tactical display. New Sarajevo had been home to 40,000 people. Farmers mostly? Families who'd wanted nothing more than a quiet life on a distant world? All dead now, or worse. What's the opposition? She asked. 2 frigates, 1 destroyer, orbital defense platforms, and approximately 500 Valkyrie ground troops occupying the colony itself. You're planning a ground assault. Negative. We destroy the gate from orbit and jump out before their reinforcements arrive. The colonists are already lost. Damie's jaw tightened. Ma'am, if there's any chance survivors are being held. There are no survivors, Corporal. You've seen the intelligence reports. The Velkari don't take prisoners. They harvest genetic material and render everything else down for industrial use. The words hit like hammer blows. 40,000 people, reduced to raw materials. I want authorization to lead a ground team, Amy said quietly. Verify the colony's status. If there are survivors, we extract them. That's not the mission. Then change the mission. Amy met Briggs's eyes. We can destroy the gate from orbit and still put boots on the ground. Hit their garrison while they're focused on the space battle. Get answers about what they're doing with our people. Briggs was quiet for a long moment. You understand this is personal for you. Your judgment may be compromised. My judgment is perfectly clear, ma'am. The Velkari murdered my crew. They're murdering our colonies, and we're sitting here debating whether it's worth checking if anyone's still alive down there. Amy's voice didn't rise, but something cold entered it. Derek died so I could escape. I'm not going to dishonor that by abandoning people who might still be fighting to survive. Briggs studied her. You're not that same corporal who crawled out of an escape pod 3 weeks ago. No, ma'am, I'm not. Because that corporal was broken. What I need is someone hard enough to do what's necessary. Briggs pulled up personnel files. You'll have a strike team. 6 Marines. Best we've got. Your mission is recon and intelligence gathering. If you find survivors, you extract them. If you find something the Velkari don't want us to see, you document it and get out. Under no circumstances do you engage in extended combat. Clear? Crystal, ma'am. One more thing. Briggs handed Amy a data chip. Lieutenant Hutchins' personal effects were recovered from the Sentinel's wreckage by salvage teams. This was among them. I thought you should have it. Amy took the chip with numb fingers. Later, alone in her quarters, she'd discover it contained a message Derek had recorded before the Sentinel's final mission. His last words meant for her if he didn't come back, but she didn't know that yet. Dismissed, Briggs said. Get your team ready. We jumped to New Sarajevo at 0608. Amy saluted and left the bridge. In the corridor, she allowed herself 30 seconds to lean against the bulkhead and breathe. Then she straightened and headed for the armory. 18 hours until the mission. 18 hours until she would see a Velkari colony occupation with her own eyes. 18 hours until she would learn exactly what humanity was fighting against. She intended to use every minute preparing. The Valiant jumped through space, carrying vengeance toward its destination. In her quarters, Amy Bradford cleaned her weapons with mechanical precision and tried not to think about the message waiting in Derek's data chip. She would watch it after the mission, after she knew whether the people of New Sarajevo could still be saved, after she'd honored Derek's sacrifice by making sure no one else died alone and forgotten while she ran away. The countdown continued. The war continued, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, the Velkari prepared for an assault they couldn't possibly see coming. The Valiant dropped out of jump space 300 kilometers above New Sarajevo. Amy stood in the drop pod with her strike team waiting for the signal. Multiple contacts, the tactical officer reported over the comm. 2 frigates, 1 destroyer, 8 orbital platforms. They're moving to intercept. Captain Briggs's voice came through calm and steady. Weapons free, all batteries engage. The Valiant's railguns opened up. Through the pod's external feed, Amy watched tungsten rounds tear into the Velkari destroyer's shields. The enemy vessel returned fire, plasma lances scorching across the Valiant's hull. Launch in 30 seconds, the drop pod pilot announced. Sergeant Cole Martinez checked his rifle for the 3rd time. He was career Marine. 15 years of combat across a dozen worlds. Remember, we go in fast and quiet. Recon only. If it gets hot, we extract immediately. The other 5 Marines nodded. They were good soldiers. Professional. But Amy could see the tension in their eyes. This was the first human ground operation against the Velkari since the war began. No one knew what they'd find down there. 10 seconds. Amy gripped her weapon. The data chip Briggs had given her sat in her breast pocket, its weight somehow heavier than the armor she wore. Launch. The pod punched free of the Valiant and plunged toward New Sarajevo's surface. Atmospheric friction turned the world orange outside the viewports. Above them, the space battle raged. The Valiant was outnumbered, but it was faster, jumping micro-distances around the battlefield in ways the Valkyrie couldn't predict. The pod hit cloud cover. Rain hammered the hull. 30 seconds to touchdown, the pilot said. Through breaks in the clouds, Amy saw New Sarajevo's capital city, or what remained of it. The Valkyrie hadn't bothered with precision strikes. Entire districts had been reduced to slag and ash. The agricultural terraces that had fed 40,000 people were blackened scars across the landscape. The pod slammed into muddy ground 2 kilometers from the city center. The doors blew open and the strike team deployed into driving rain. "Spread out," Martinez ordered. "Stay sharp." They moved through the ruins in tactical formation. Amy's helmet display showed thermal signatures and motion tracking, but everything registered as cold and dead. The rain had turned the streets into rivers of mud and debris. The first bodies appeared 50 meters in. Colonists, burnt beyond recognition. Hundreds of them, piled in what had once been a public square. They corralled them, Amy said quietly. Gathered everyone in one place before. Movement. One of the Marines interrupted. Bearing 270, single contact. Humanoid. The team shifted position, weapons tracking. A figure stumbled from a collapsed building, moving with the jerky gait of someone badly injured, or someone who wasn't human anymore. Amy raised her rifle. Through her scope, she saw a colonist, a young man maybe 20 years old. Half his face had been replaced with Valkyrie biotechnology. Cables ran from ports in his skull to a power pack on his back. His eyes were vacant. "Hold fire," Martinez ordered. "That's a civilian." "That was a civilian," Amy corrected. She'd read the intelligence briefs. Do what the Valkyrie did to the people they captured. Now it's a drone. They've overwritten his nervous system. He's not in there anymore. The drone turned toward them. Its mouth opened, and a sound came out that made Amy's skin crawl. Not words, not screaming. Something between the two. Then it charged. Martinez dropped it with a single headshot. "Scanning for more contacts," another Marine reported. "I'm reading. Christ. Hundreds of them. Underground. They're in the city's service tunnels." Amy pulled up the architectural database for New Sarajevo. The colony had an extensive underground infrastructure, water treatment, power distribution, emergency shelters, places where people would have hidden when the Valkyrie attacked, places the Valkyrie had found them. "We need to see what's down there," Amy said. Martinez shook his head. "Negative. That's not the mission. We gather intel on the gate construction and extract." "This is intel, Sergeant. The Valkyrie aren't just killing our people. They're converting them. Fleet Command needs to know." A new voice cut into the comm. "Captain Briggs, Bradford's right. Get visual confirmation and upload it to the Valiant. But you've got 10 minutes. After that, the Valkyrie reinforcements arrive, and we jump out with or without you." Martinez swore under his breath. "You heard the captain. We go down, we document, we leave. No heroics." They found an entrance to the service tunnels 3 blocks from the square. The doors had been torn open from the inside. Claw marks scored the metal. The team descended into darkness. Amy's helmet light cut through the gloom, revealing horrors she would never forget. The Valkyrie had set up a processing facility in the water treatment plant. Humans hung in suspension tanks, their bodies being systematically harvested and rebuilt. Some were still conscious. Their eyes tracked the strike team's movement, pleading silently for death. "Recording everything," one of the Marines said, his voice shaking. Amy moved deeper into the facility. In a chamber that had once housed filtration equipment, she found the answer to the question Fleet Command had been asking since the war began. Why? The Valkyrie weren't invading for territory, weren't fighting for resources or strategic advantage. They were hunting. Vast bioorganic vats filled the chamber, each one growing something that made Amy's stomach turn. Hybrid creatures, part human, part Valkyrie. The genetic material harvested from colonists was being used to create soldiers. Enhanced, improved. designed to infiltrate human space. They're building an army, Amy whispered, using us as raw materials. 5 minutes, Briggs transmitted. Wrap it up. Something moved in the shadows beyond the vats. Amy spun, weapon raised. A girl emerged, maybe 12 years old, covered in filth, her arm ending in a bloody stump, where the Valkyrie had begun their modifications before abandoning her as unsuitable. She looked at Amy with eyes that still held awareness, still held hope. "Please," the girl whispered. "Help me." Amy's training said leave her. The mission parameters said gather intelligence and extract. The cold tactical reality said one survivor wasn't worth risking 6 Marines and humanity's only jump-capable warship. But Amy thought of Derek, standing in that cargo bay, choosing to die so she could live. She thought of his message, still unheard in her pocket. She thought of what it meant to be human. "Grab her," Amy ordered. "We're bringing her out." Martinez started to protest. The look on Amy's face stopped him. The team moved fast, carrying the girl through the tunnels while drones converged from deeper in the facility. They emerged into rain and gunfire. The Valkyrie ground forces had discovered their presence. 2 minutes to extraction, Briggs announced. The Valiant is taking heavy fire. We need to jump now. Amy's team ran for the pickup zone, plasma bolts chasing them through ruined streets. The drop pod descended through the storm, its weapons cutting down pursuing drones. They made it aboard with 30 seconds to spare. "We're clear," Martinez reported. 1 civilian recovered. Multiple terabytes of tactical data uploaded. The pod launched. Through the viewport, Amy watched New Sarajevo shrink away, watched the Valkyrie gate under construction in orbit, watched the Valiant execute one final devastating railgun barrage before jumping to safety. The girl sat in the corner of the pod, shaking. Amy knelt beside her. "What's your name?" "Sophie." Her voice was barely audible. "Are my parents?" "I don't know." Amy wouldn't lie to her. "But you're safe now." "I promise." Sophie started crying. Amy held her while the pod docked with the Valiant, and the ship jumped away from the nightmare they'd discovered. Later in the medical bay, Amy finally found time to be alone. She pulled out the data chip and loaded it into a terminal. Derek's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. The recording was dated 3 days before the Sentinel's final mission. "Amy," he began, "if you're watching this, I'm probably dead. Which means I never got the chance to say everything I should have said while I was alive." Amy's hands started shaking. "I love you. I've loved you for so long that I can't remember what it felt like not to love you. And I know I should have told you. Regulations be damned. But I was afraid. Afraid you didn't feel the same. Afraid I'd ruin what we had. Afraid of 1,000 stupid things that don't matter now." His image smiled, sad and gentle. "So I'm telling you in the worst possible way, through a recording, after I'm gone. I'm sorry for that. But I need you to know, you made every day worth living. You made this whole infinite, terrifying universe feel like home. And if I died protecting you, protecting what we had, even if we never got to make it real, then I died the luckiest man who ever lived." Tears ran down Amy's face. "Don't waste your life on grief," Derek said. "Don't let what happened to me make you hard or bitter. Stay good, Amy. Stay strong. Be the person I always knew you were. And if humanity survives this war, if we build something better from the ashes, live enough for both of us. Promise me." The recording ended. Amy sat in silence for a long time. Then she wiped her eyes, stood up, and walked to the bridge where Captain Briggs was planning their next strike. She had a promise to keep. 6 months later, the war had changed. The Valiant wasn't alone anymore. Humanity had built 12 jump-capable warships, each one carrying Derek's legacy into battle. The Valkyrie advance had stalled. Their gates were being destroyed faster than they could rebuild them. Their supply lines bled from 1,000 cuts. Amy Bradford stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UNS Sentinel, named for the ship where everything had begun. She wore lieutenant's bars now. Captain Briggs had pushed the promotion through over Amy's protests. "You've earned it," Briggs had said. "More importantly, the fleet needs leaders who understand what we're fighting for." The tactical display showed the target, a Valkyrie command station orbiting a dead world. coordinating their entire invasion fleet. Intelligence suggested the station held strategic databases that would expose every enemy position across human space. It was also defended by 40 warships and protected by shields strong enough to withstand a sustained bombardment. "All ships reporting ready," Lieutenant Commander Martinez announced. He'd transferred to the Sentinel as Amy's executive officer. "Jump coordinates locked. We're awaiting your order." Amy studied the battle plan one final time. 12 human ships against 40 Valkyrie vessels. Impossible odds by any conventional measure. But humans didn't fight conventionally anymore. "Execute jump sequence Alpha," Amy ordered. "All ships engage on my mark." The Sentinel and its sister ships vanished from normal space. They reappeared in 12 different positions around the command station, bypassing the Valkyrie defensive perimeter entirely. The enemy fleet scrambled to respond. Too slow. "All batteries fire," Amy commanded. Railguns spoke. Missiles launched. The human warships poured concentrated fire into the station's shield generators. The Valkyrie turned to engage, but the human ships jumped again before they could get solid firing solutions. It was a dance. Appear, strike, vanish. Death from nowhere. The Valkyrie couldn't adapt because their wormhole gates couldn't match the speed and flexibility of jump drives. They were fighting yesterday's war. Humanity had already moved on to tomorrow. The command station's shields failed after 8 minutes of sustained assault. The Sentinel made the killing blow, its main guns punching through the station's hull and detonating its reactor. "Target destroyed," Martinez reported. "Valkyrie fleet is in full retreat." Amy watched them go. 6 months ago, she would have wanted to chase them, to kill every last one for what they'd done to Derek, to the Sentinel, to 40,000 colonists on New Sarajevo. But Derek's message had changed something in her. "Let them run," she said. "Transmit the station's databases to Fleet Command. Get our wounded to medical. Prepare for jump to Rally Point Omega." The fleet regrouped in deep space. 12 ships carrying news that would change everything. The Valkyrie databases revealed the location of their homeworld, their manufacturing centers, their political infrastructure. Humanity finally had targets that mattered. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen, transmitted from Earth via quantum relay. "Lieutenant Bradford, your task force has dealt the enemy a devastating blow. The War Council is prepared to authorize a final strike on the Valkyrie home system. We end this decisively." Amy felt the weight of those words. A final strike. An invasion of the enemy's core territory. It would cost thousands of human lives, but it would end the war. "Admiral, request permission to address the Council directly." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Granted." Amy stood, aware that her words would reach the most powerful military leaders in human space. 6 months ago, the Valkyrie believed they were hunting prey. They saw humans as resources to exploit. They thought we would break. She thought of Derek's smile in the cargo bay, of Sophie, the girl they'd saved from New Sarajevo, who was now safely on Earth receiving the medical treatment that would let her live a normal life. They were wrong. We didn't break. We adapted. We innovated. We fought back in ways they couldn't predict. But here's what I've learned. If we go to their homeworld with nothing but vengeance in our hearts, if we reduce their colonies to ash the way they did ours, then we become what they thought we were. We become monsters. The council chambers were silent. "I'm not saying we show mercy to their military," Amy continued. "I'm saying we remember what makes us human. We target their war machine. We dismantle their ability to threaten us. But when their government sues for peace, when they realize they've lost, we accept. We don't exterminate them. We don't become genocidal conquerors." Admiral Chen leaned forward. "And if they refuse to surrender, if they fight to the last warrior, then we finish it. But we give them the chance first, because Lieutenant Derek Hutchins died believing humanity was worth saving. I won't dishonor his sacrifice by proving him wrong." The transmission ended. Amy sat back down, wondering if she'd just ended her military career. Martinez approached quietly. "That took guts, ma'am. For what it's worth, I agree with every word. It needed to be said." Amy pulled up Derek's message one more time, the recording she'd watched 100 times in the past 6 months. Someone had to remember we're the good guys. 3 days later, the orders came through. The fleet would strike the Velkari homeworld, but with strict rules of engagement. Military targets only, civilian infrastructure to be preserved, surrender to be accepted, if offered. Humanity was going to win this war without losing its soul. The Sentinel jumped toward the final battle with 11 sister ships. Amy stood on the bridge, Derek's data chip in her pocket where she always kept it, and watched the stars blur past. "All hands, this is the captain," she transmitted across the ship. "In 30 minutes, we jump into enemy home territory. Some of us won't come back, but everyone who does will know they fought for something that mattered. Not for revenge, not for conquest, for the right of every human being to live free from fear." She paused, thinking of Derek's final words in that cargo bay. "Make every shot count. Watch each other's backs. And remember, we're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to prove that humanity deserves to inherit the stars." The Sentinel dropped out of jump space above the Velkari homeworld. The final battle had begun. It lasted 6 hours. The Velkari fought with desperate fury, defending their last stronghold. But human tactics proved superior. Human technology proved unstoppable. Human determination proved unbreakable. When the Velkari High Command transmitted their surrender, Amy was the one who accepted it. The war ended not with extermination, but with terms. The Velkari would dismantle their military, provide reparations, never again threaten human space. In return, humanity would allow them to survive. It wasn't perfect justice. It wasn't revenge for the 40,000 dead on New Sarajevo, or the thousands more across a dozen colonies, but it was peace. Amy stood on the observation deck of the Sentinel, watching the Velkari homeworld turn below. Martinez joined her. "Strange, isn't it?" he said. "A year ago, this war didn't exist. Now it's over." "Not over," Amy corrected. "Just beginning the hard part. Building something better from what we learned." She pulled out Derek's data chip and held it up to the light. "I made you a promise," she whispered. "To live enough for both of us. To stay good. To be the person you believed I was." The chip felt warm in her hand. "I hope I kept it." Martinez tactfully looked away as Amy wiped her eyes. On Earth, Sophie was learning to use her prosthetic arm, surrounded by doctors who had made it their mission to heal the survivors of Velkari experimentation. On Proxima Station, engineers were already designing the next generation of jump drives. Across human space, colonies were being rebuilt, families were reuniting, and life was slowly returning to normal. The universe kept turning. Humanity had survived its first contact with hostile alien life, had proven itself capable of standing against extinction, had shown that even in the darkest moments, even when everything seemed lost, humans could adapt and overcome. Derek Hutchins had died believing that. Amy Bradford had lived to prove it true. She smiled through her tears, looking out at the stars that suddenly felt less cold, less distant, less impossible. Somewhere out there, humanity's future waited, and Amy intended to help build it, one day at a time, carrying Derek's memory forward into whatever came next. The war was over. The real